Hi. Hi. Hi, welcome back to the Mom Awards. I am so excited about all of the support that I've gotten from everybody and the sharing and the comments, and you guys are just the best, and I'm so grateful to have great friends and family that are super supportive. Today I interviewed my friend Rebecca and about her decisions to have a home birth. I did not have a home birth, so I actually learned a lot about her process and making that decision, and actually have a lot to learn about interviewing people and maybe not saying so much, but this is a fun journey. It's a learning experience for everyone involved. She was so gracious to meet me at the park while her daughter was asleep in the car. I think we've all been there, where you finally get your child to sleep so you can get something done, and we got a lot done during nap time. So continue to watch and find out more about what happened. My husband is unloading the groceries and now he's shaking the car. Thanks. This is Rebecca.
Hi.
She's my friend and she's my first, and I'm so excited to have her first because she's one of the people that really pushed me to start this, and one of the people who was like most enthusiastic about, do me, I've got a great story.
Yeah,
and
I'm
Rebecca
so
has a
excited.
great home birth story. So tell me a little bit about yourself and everybody else. Like, how old are you, where do you live, and how many kids you have?
I'm Rebecca. I'm 30, just turned 30, and I live in Florida. I moved from upstate New York, where we are now, to Florida about 6 or 7 years ago. And my child is going to be 2. I have 1 daughter.
That's awesome. Okay, so do you stay home with Annabelle, or do you work full time, or what do you do to contribute to your family income?
Right now, I stay at home with her, and I work from home doing network marketing on social media, and that usually takes up about 25% of my time, about my day.
And so did you always want to be a mother?
Yes.
And how many kids did you think that you wanted when you were growing up?
Before I had 1 child, I used to say I wanted 7.
I think we all think that we can have a bunch until you become an adult and realize that you need a car seat for every part of your car.
Yeah.
If you want that many kids.
Yeah.
And that shopping carts only come with 1 seat.
Yeah. You can always put them in the back.
Unless you're Aldi's, and then you can put them. Some Aldi's have 2 seats.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but we don't want to bring our kids shopping with us, or at least I don't. That's my by myself day.
Yes. Yes.
So, what made you decide to have a home birth?
Before I was pregnant, actually, I had been really reading about birth, and learning about birth is something I find really interesting. And so I had actually interviewed my friend when I was thinking about becoming a midwife.
Wow, that's cool.
And she ended up being my midwife.
Oh, that's fancy.
Yeah, and I decided not to be a midwife.
Why is that? Why did you decide not to?
Because of the schedule.
Right.
Just
I guess you have to get called out of the house. And if your husband's not home to watch your kid and you've got to go deliver someone else's,
Yeah.
that's actually pretty demanding.
Yeah, you could be gone for 48 hours or more. You're going to miss
Right.
holidays, birthday parties, and that was just not the lifestyle I wanted.
Right. So what were some of the contributing factors that made you decide to have a home birth as opposed to a hospital birth?
Well, when I was learning and asking people their birth stories, I heard a lot of crazy things that people had gone through during birth, and mainly in hospitals. Just like my cousin, a doctor came up to her and asked her who her pediatrician was while she was pushing the baby out. Something as small as that, to people having procedures done on them without their consent, or even doctors just being really rude to the mom. And I was like, I don't want that. When I heard people's hospital birth stories, people close to me, I heard a lot of negative experiences. So I was more scared to have unnecessary medical intervention, or the possibility of them making my pushing me
into some sort of direction that you weren't ready for in your birth plan.
Yeah, not listening to me and what I
Right.
wanted. That was more scary to me.
Yeah, that you wouldn't really be in control of this experience that you wanted to enjoy.
Yes.
So did your birth experience go exactly the way that you kind of planned?
It did. It was a really amazing birth experience, and I give God the glory for that because things can go wrong in birth.
Right.
And that is why I chose a nurse practitioner midwife.
So those are some of the precautions that you decided to take so that way you would have your safety measures covered.
Yes.
And that sort of helped alleviate the fears that maybe your husband might have had. Was he concerned about like your decision to do a home birth, or was he completely on board from the beginning?
Originally, he did have some fears, and so he went with me to some appointments, and we addressed those concerns with our midwife.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. Like when you research something with somebody who's very knowledgeable, you can find out, wow, this is really not going to work for me, or this really is, or I actually don't want my living room splashed on.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that'd be a part, or wow, I didn't know I could do it outside.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's like there's like that whole segment on TLC now, like, what's it called? Birth in nature. People are birthing by like streams.
I saw
that. Far away from hospitals.
Yeah.
That could be nerve-wracking. Maybe that's your thing. I don't know. That's not my thing.
I saw that video.
It's like Naked and Afraid, except for with birth.
Yeah.
So Naked, Afraid, and birthing.
Yeah.
Do you think that your decision to have a home birth is a more traditional decision, like in the sense of that's how people are used to do it, or more of a modern decision, like this is my empowering moment?
Well, I think it's both. Definitely through the centuries, women birthed at home, being surrounded by women, and then it didn't become a medical operation or a medical procedure with interventions until
Insurance companies.
Oh yeah, exactly. Until I forget what year it was, and then
I think it was towards the 50s.
Yeah, and now you're seeing a home birth on the uprise, and a lot more women choosing to birth at home.
I think there's a trend that the more that we research, we can have births more personal to what we actually want our experience to be like. You just need the privacy to get your she-man out, to get your birth out of the way.
That's exactly how I felt. Like, when a woman gives birth, her primal side takes over.
Right.
And I was afraid, like in a hospital, people would tell me to be quiet. I didn't know how I would react to the pain. Like, I didn't know what giving birth was like. And I was scared of being, like, inhibited.
Right.
Is that the right word?
Yeah, I think so. I would call it
or I
inhibited.
didn't want to be inhibited.
Right. You just
all.
wanted to create an environment where you felt most peaceful to bring your child into the world.
Yeah.
For some women, that's the hospital. Like, for me personally, I don't want to be at home because I think it's more peaceful to be away from home sometimes.
Yeah.
And that was as much as I think that home birth was romantic for me, I was glad to leave that experience there and any memories with it and come home.
Yeah.
And have someone else clean it up and the tub and everything else.
Yeah.
Tell me about the birth bubble, which is not a birthing ball or something that you birth on.
Yeah. So it's literally called the bubble of peace. And no matter what kind of birth you're having, a home birth, a hospital birth, or an elective C-section, whatever it is.
Everyone wants peace.
Yeah. So anytime someone comes to you with a negative birth story or something like that, they're trying to help you. Like, oh no, did you hear this about C-sections, or did you hear this about home births? They're just trying to be helpful, but it's important that you create a bubble of peace and you don't let anything affect your decision.
Once you make a decision, if you own that decision and you research it, it's easy to tell other people, okay, that worked for you, but maybe not for me. This is what we decided to do. And I think even for me, with my 3 pregnancies, each one was so different. So what someone tells you about your birth and comparing it to their birth experience, like, oh, you don't want to do that because my friend fill in the blank. Whatever the story is that someone tries to start fear in your heart about your birthing story, that will create doubt that is just not part of peace. And when you are going into birth, which is an extremely empowering experience, you want as much peace as possible, whether that's in a hospital or by a stream.
Yeah.
Or at home, or even in a birthing center, or in a bathtub, or not in a bathtub. Once you own your decision about how you're going to give birth and how you want to bring your child into this world, it's one of the first big parenting decisions you get to make, and that affects the rest of how you decide to parent for raising any of your children. What is something that you want other people that have never had a home birth or would never consider it to understand about your decision?
this might come across wrong, but I don't care what other people think about me for making that decision.
Right.
Because, like anytime you were saying, anytime anybody makes any decision, they did their own research and they're making their own decision that's best for their family. So it doesn't matter, like, what someone who maybe doesn't understand thinks if they think negative.
So tell me a little bit about your actual birth plan. Like, you were planning to labor at home obviously the entire time, but what did that look like for you? Did it include your partner, your mother, your doula, your midwife, and
So I chose to have a doula, and 2 midwives came. My mom, my sister, and my husband was outside with his cousin, and the plan was for me to labor on my own, and I didn't know like how I was going to react to birth or how it was going to go.
Right.
So I told people to leave me alone sometimes. Like, I wanted to be alone. I asked people to pray with me. I asked them to light candles, put music on, turn the lights on, turn the lights off. So really, like, I didn't know exactly how it would go, except that
you were preparing your environment.
yes. And then after I had the baby, I wanted to go be in my bed with my husband and enjoy the baby and
Have some privacy.
he wasn't with me, although he was outside at my house.
Right.
And so beforehand, we knew he didn't want to be there with me. Like,
That's a little bit non-traditional in terms of home birth, because sometimes people, I think, want to have a home birth so they can have an intimate experience with their partner, and just enjoy that as just the two of them as minimally as possible. But at the same time, I think there's still a huge trend of men that aren't actually as interested in birth.
yes, and that was my husband.
Just like traditionally, like back in the day, a lot of men used to stand outside and wait for that, and it's just not something every spouse is into.
right.
I know there's fathers that like to stand there and watch the whole thing, and others that are like, leave me in the background, and others like, leave me at the door.
Yes. I wanted to know the gender, and he was like, no, we must wait. It's a surprise.
I think this is so cool. Like, I wish I could wait. I don't have the patience. Also, I had 3 girls, so I needed to know if I had to buy something or not.
I tried to peek. I like started opening the envelope, and he was like in the shower, and he got out. So I like
And you found out?
I pretended like I wasn't doing it. I never ended up seeing the gender.
Wow, that's crazy. Did you feel or experience any mom shaming after your birth later on about like, oh, you did a home birth? Like, what kind of negative comments did you get from other mothers that maybe might have been scared about your decision?
After I gave birth, I did share my birth story. Like, I love reading everybody's birth
Right.
stories, no matter what kind of birth stories
You kind of
they
read it and you're
are.
like, wow, that didn't happen to me. Or, oh, wow, it could happen to me.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't recommend reading traumatic ones if you're pregnant. Like,
Right.
do not read positive birth stories. So yeah, one girl did say, like, on my birth story, I don't like it when moms who birth at home think that they're stronger than women who birth in hospitals.
Did you feel that you are stronger than a woman that births in the hospital?
Not at all, because like when I was giving birth, I remember thinking, like, I can't do this anymore. I looked to my midwives and was like, just take the baby out. And I remember thinking, if they offered me like pain medication, I would have taken it, but I didn't have that option. So then when it was over, then you're like, oh my goodness, like my body just did that.
It's crazy. It's amazing what women's bodies can do.
Yeah.
So what advice would you want to give to somebody who is considering a home birth?
Oh, this is a good one. So I would say, if you're considering a home birth and you're not sure where to start, I would ask other women in your area if they knew of a midwife, and then you could make an appointment with her and interview her. I came to my midwife with my fears, and she helped me address them. I think a lot of times women have fears even going into a hospital birth, and nobody answers those fears for them.
I think that you could say in any birth experience, if you have a good relationship with your caretakers, your gynecologist, your midwife, it really eases your fears of anything that you're going into. And if you are going to, in my experience, I went to a larger practice with my first daughter, and it felt like we were just next, and you could hardly get out the question that you were worried about all
Right.
week. And then I really wanted to change the experience for my second, so I looked for a midwife that really listened to me, and the entire practice was so kind to me and just wanted exactly what I wanted for my birth plan.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I think it makes a huge difference as long as you can communicate with your birthing partners and spouses and all the people that are going to be around in labor. Those people in your support system really help you complete the birth plan that you're looking for.
Yeah. So come before her with your fears and find out.
Sort of like, don't rule out everything until you've talked to someone that's personal to your health and your experiences.
Yeah. And I think a lot of midwives will just do like a free consultation. So
Right.
you can tell them.
Now, you live in Florida, but was your birth covered by insurance at all?
It was.
That's convenient. Sometimes I think a lot of people worry, like, if I'm in the hospital, I don't have to worry about everything. I give them my card and that's it. And other times people, I think they look up the price of a doula and they're like, there's no way. I can't do that. I felt that way about a doula. I just coached my friend, like, could you please follow this scenario and be a good doula to me?
Oh, that's awesome.
We had to pause for the lawnmower man.
Yeah.
Because we're at a park. Can you hear the skateboarders? Testing. 1, 2, 3. It's just like us. It does. Can you hear us? Can you hear us if we're talking? We have some skateboarders over there. Maybe they'll come do some tricks in the background.